A voice says, cry. A voice says, cry out. And I say, what shall I cry? All men are like grass, and all their glory is like the flowers of the field. The grass withers and the flowers fall, because the breath of the Lord blows on them. Surely the people are grass. The grass withers and the flowers fall, but the word of our God stands forever.
As the children were leaving, one of the boys handed me an envelope, and it's from the donations, the $5 and multiplying and all that. And what it says is that we decided to get water and recycle. We collected and asked relatives to donate. Aunts, grandma, aunts, they did, and we cashed it in for money. And so this is going to the help the fire victims along with the craft sale. So let's applaud Alex and Raymond for that. Yeah. Well done. Well, are any of you jigsaw puzzle fanatics? Anybody here want to make that confess that illness? Yeah. Or that gift, as it were, okay? How many pieces can you do? 1,000? Anybody do bigger ones than 1,000? Debbie back there. Okay, 5,000? So, wow. My mother is that way. My mother, actually, when she goes to visit people and stay over, they actually set up a jigsaw puzzle for her because they know she's coming, So wherever she is, she's got these huge jigsaw puzzles laid out, and then she co-ops people into helping her, and she's really, really good. But I can't do it. I don't know what it is. How many of you have trouble with those? Some people did you ever see the guys who can do the Rubik's Cube really fast or blindfolded even? Some people have memorized it. There it is. It's done. I don't know what the record is, 11 seconds or something? I think it's some ridiculous number. Some people have got that sort of, I guess you could call it an X factor. I guess some of it's learned, but I like to think that most of it comes into us genetically, that we're hardwired for that proclivity to solving puzzles. What do you think? And that lets the rest of us off the hook, doesn't it? If it's genetic. So there's that X factor, I think, in puzzling, where some people can look at it and start to just see how it all sort of fits together, and they can make it happen. Others of us who lack the X factor just don't want any part of it because we know it's just so frustrating. And I think that's some of what's going on in this passage in Isaiah, where once again, remember from last week, we're in this hall of voices, and there are voices crying out in Isaiah chapter 40. Remember the voice last week in the desert coming from the east saying, prepare the way of the Lord. And then here in 46 through 8, there's another voice that says to Isaiah, cry out. And then Isaiah says, what shall I cry? And then this voice, which we could call the doubting voice, comments on the temporary nature of life and how frustrating it is, and also identifies the temporary nature of life. I've got to walk around this wreath to see some of you. Identifies the temporary nature of life with God as the source of it, because as the breath, what is it in verse 7? Because the breath of the Lord blows on them, the grass withers and the flower falls. So it's almost as if this doubting voice is saying, everything is temporary. It's like reading Ecclesiastes. That's what Ecclesiastes is, by the way. If you go read Ecclesiastes, it's just everything's temporary, everything's worthless, it's frustrating, life is just so hard, you just can't figure it out. It's folly, it's foolishness, and there's a little bit of that in here. But actually, the doubting voice, the neat thing about doubt and why we shouldn't just dismiss it is that it has truth in it. It's partially true, isn't it? Doubt always has an element of truth. And so the doubting voice here is actually a partially true voice. But yet it's missing something. It's missing that X factor. The doubter is missing the X factor that if he had it, it would help him to see how everything fits together. That X factor like the puzzle solver has, you know? And so the one who's got the bit of truth and is missing the X factor is frustrated. Everything's temporary. It's all going to burn. It's all going to fade away. It's here for a while, then it's gone. Well, that's true, right? That's true. So much of life is temporary. But then there's something else that when you add it to that, it starts to help us make sense of life. It starts to help us see how the puzzle fits together. Not that we can solve it instantly. It may take a lifetime, which can be frustrating for some. Can you imagine a jigsaw puzzle that took a lifetime to solve, the ultimate puzzle? But there's this X factor. And what's the X factor? The X factor here is the Word of God, the message of God. Because in the last verse of this section, 48, at the bottom, it says, the chorus of God comes in with the word surely. Surely the people are grass. Yes, doubter, you're right. Yes, the grass withers and the flowers fall. And those words stand for common grass, the common things of life. They eventually fade away and die. And then even the brilliant things of life, the wildflowers. Have you ever seen a field of brilliant wildflowers? You know, and just all of a sudden you're surprised by joy, by seeing those wildflowers. And the comment here is, yes, even the brilliant things of life, even the great things of life, even all the things that we love to do, so many of them are temporary. And they'll pass away. However, here's what helps us make sense of things as people of God. The word of the Lord, the word of our God, stands forever. The word of our God, the message of our God stands forever. Now, remember the context here. This word came to people who were barely hanging on in their land. They were barely hanging on to their country. Their country was being destroyed and being ripped out of their hands even as these words came. Jerusalem would be destroyed. All the familiar things that they knew would be taken from them, these people in ancient Israel and Judea. They would be carted off some to Babylonia, some to Assyria. They'd be taken away in exile. Can you imagine that happening to us? Can you imagine if Canada came in and just shipped us all up north? We're all freezing up there, you know, and they came in, the Canadians come down and live here. I mean, that's what it would be like. And it's true, isn't it? Even the strongest countries and empires only last for a while. I mean, think of the Roman Empire. If you were in the middle of the Roman Empire, would you have ever thought that it would end? Would you have ever thought that someday all that I see would be taken away? And I think the answer is no. Now, what are we seeing today in America? We're seeing things that we have counted on start to crumble. I don't think it's the end of the country, but I think it's shaking a lot of people's foundations of the way they think and of things that we thought were permanent and predictable and certain. We find out, no, it's not true. They're only temporary. They belong in this category of things that wither and fall. And so then what's left at the end of the day? At the end of the day, what Isaiah is saying is the message of God, the word of our God. What is the message of God? Well, remember Isaiah 40 marks a turning point.